Hello and welcome to our Christmas Eve service this year. My name is Pastor Caleb and I will be your host this evening. We all know that this last year has been a really difficult one, just like last year. And we know there's all sorts of things that are crowding your mind for space. But tonight, I'm asking you to focus on one thing, the thing that brings us together tonight. The fact that Jesus Christ came as a baby all those years ago in Bethlehem. In a dirty stable and laid in the manger so that you and I could find hope and joy and experience relationship with him. I hope you enjoy the service today.
Gathered round the table, so much to be thankful for. It's Christmas, oh how I've missed this. But through the joy and laughter, you can feel the sadness. 'Cause this Christmas, everyone's not with us. It's the time of year when happiness and cheer won't be enough to get me through the night. I need a wonderful counselor, the mighty God, the Prince of Peace, who's strong enough to carry me. Emmanuel, God with us, the wondrous love will never end. Oh Jesus, can you make this season wonderful? Almighty in a manger told us he'd be no stranger to all our sorrow and all the hurt we'll ever know. So let these gifts remind us how love came down to find us. Wonder of the ages, the life, the truth, the way. He is our wonderful counselor, the mighty God, the Prince of Peace, who's strong enough to carry me. Emmanuel, God with us, the wondrous love will never end. Oh Jesus, you can make this season wonderful. For unto us a child is born. blessed angels sing, and he beneath life's crushing load, whose forms are bending low, who toil along the climbing way with painful steps and slow. Look now for glad and golden hours come swiftly on the wing. Oh, rest beside the weary road and hear the angels sing. For lo, the days are hastening on by prophet bards foretold, when with the ever-circling years comes round the age of gold, when peace shall over all the earth its ancient splendors fling, and the whole world give back the song which now the angels sing. same star, three wise men came from country far to seek for a king. Was their intent, and to follow the star wherever it went. Noel, 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 Noel. Born is the King of Israel. The star drew nigh to the northwest, o'er Bethlehem it took its rest, and there it did both stop and stay, right o'er the place where Jesus lay. Noel, 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 Noel. Born is the King of Israel. Then entered in those wise men three, full reverently upon the knee, and offered there in his presence their gold and myrrh and frankincense. Noel, 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 Noel. Born is the King of Israel. Noel, 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 Noel. Born is the King of Israel.
Today's Advent reading is from Matthew 2, 1 through 12. Now after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we saw his star when it rose, and have come to worship him. When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And assembling all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They told him, In Bethlehem of Judea, for so it is written by the prophet, And you, O Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler, who will shepherd my people Israel.
Then Herod summoned the wise men secretly and ascertained from them what time the star had appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, that I too may come and worship him. After listening to the king, they went on their way. And behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. Then opening their treasures, they offered him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. God, we're so thankful that you are with us, that you are Emmanuel. God, we're so thankful that you came down to earth to live among us, to give us hope, peace, and joy. And we're just so thankful for the story of Christmas and all that it means to us. And we just pray this all in your name. Amen.
Christmas is about giving and receiving. Throughout the Christmas season, we scour through stores, we search online to try and find that perfect gift for the people that we love in our lives, because we want our gifts to be an expression of care and significance and value. And we all know there's a range of how the people around us choose to receive these gifts. Sometimes we nail it, and sometimes it's a little bit of a disaster. But this goes so much deeper than just giving gifts throughout the Christmas season. In the core of every one of our hearts is a longing and a desire to connect with our Creator. We want to find and to experience something of deep significance and value, to connect with something that's transcendent and bigger than ourselves. And at the foundation of the Christmas season is this truth, this essence, that God has given himself to us. And how do we choose to receive him? You see, when we couldn't connect to God because there's a sense of distance, a sense of blockage in this relationship we have, God chose to come to us. The scriptures explain it like this. Jesus, being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, and being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Now, this is the most generous gift that we could ever possibly imagine. Jesus is God, the creator of all things. He's the king of absolutely everything, but he doesn't use his status and his space to his own advantage. He chooses to see a world in darkness and fear and uncertainty. He sees the pain in my life and in yours, the confusion, the intensity that we walk through, and he chooses to move towards us. He doesn't just get close to us, he actually becomes one of us, taking on the fullness of what it means to be human while still remaining fully God. And as he comes, he does an interesting thing. He doesn't choose to be born to a powerful or a significant family. He comes to people who are poor and to a young couple who has so little that the very best place that they could find to have a baby is in somebody else's stable. And throughout his earthly existence, he experiences the very worst of what humanity has to offer in betrayal, and disappointment and disillusionment and people being frustrated with him and suffering and humiliation and even in death. And he endures all of this and walks through all of it so that we could experience freedom and joy and a relationship with God. This is the gift of God to us, that he sees us and knows us, that he draws us close, and that he gives himself to us. But there's also the receiving end of this process. And so how do we choose to respond to the gift of God? Will we receive it or will we not? Because we all know what it's like on Christmas morning to see someone's face. You know when they open a gift and they just deeply delight in this experience. It's so meaningful. It's refreshing for them. And we also know what it's like to give someone a gift that they open and give us that look where it's like, oh, do you have the gift receipt for this? And again, there's a range of how humanity has chosen to respond to God in this particular way. There were those who chose to receive Jesus with passion and with a deep sense of delight. We read that after Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea, during the time of King Herod, Magi from the east came to Jerusalem, and they asked, "Where is the one who's been born King of the Jews? We saw his star when it rose, and we have come to worship him." Now, this is really interesting because the Magi were wise men. They were people of significance and standing and stature. They were people renowned throughout the ancient world for their wisdom and their ability to discern what was right and best. Now, the Magi understood the significance of Jesus coming. They had studied for years, and when they saw the star rise in the east, they realized that something of cosmic significance was happening, that God was moving in a significant way, and they just needed to be a part of it. And so they would have made all kinds of preparation for a long journey, sometimes a very dangerous journey, because they realized they didn't want to miss this moment. No journey was too long or too arduous. No cost was too big. They were willing to set aside all the rest of the things that they needed to do in order to just engage with this moment, because they just had to find him and they had to receive him. And as they make this journey, they stop off in Jerusalem and ask for directions. And as we all know, when any man stops and asks for directions, you know that he is passionately committed to this cause. And then they went on their way. And the star that they had seen when it rose went ahead of them until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were overjoyed. On coming to the house, they saw the child with his mother Mary, and they bowed down and worshipped him. They opened their treasures and presented him with gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh. Now, I love this passage because these guys just followed the star exactly to where it went, and it would have led them to this out-of-the-way town in Bethlehem, probably down some kind of small, narrow street to a fairly insignificant-looking house. And when they saw Jesus, he would have looked to them just like a peasant child. But these powerful, important, significant people realize that God is doing something powerful here, and they want to receive him. And so they don't play it cool. They don't try and pretend that they're too good for this. They bow down and they worship him. They present him the very best of what they have to offer because they just want to receive him. They just want to experience this moment with him and give themselves to him. But this isn't everyone's response. When Jesus came into the world as king, there were those who rejected him. There were those who felt threatened by the idea of someone else moving into this space. We read again, when the Magi stopped in Jerusalem. When King Herod heard that a new king had come, he was disturbed, and all of Jerusalem with him. Now, Herod was a tyrant. Herod was absolutely ruthless. Herod was so protective of his reign that historians will tell us up to this point, Herod had actually murdered at least one of his children because this child presented a threat to his reign. So when he sees these significant and important people coming from the east saying, there's a new king that's been born, we want to come, we want to worship him, Herod is terrified. He's deeply disturbed. He doesn't want anything to threaten his rule, his control of his life, his sense of significance, and the importance that he carries in his title. And so Herod hatches this evil plot. He brings the Magi back in and he lies to them and says, I want you to go to Bethlehem and find this king and come back right away to tell me so that I can go and worship him. But in Herod's heart, he is secretly plotting to murder this child because he will not receive him. He will not allow any threat to his own sense of control, to his own sense of rule and reign. Now, the interesting thing for me and you in this particular moment is that the message of Christmas is still exactly the same. The message of Christmas is still all about giving and it's all about receiving. At this time of year, we celebrate that God has come near to us, that he has offered himself to us as the perfect gift, the thing that is most necessary for our souls to thrive and to delight in him. And we have this choice. How will we choose to receive him? Will we be like the Magi, where we decide with passion and delight to welcome him into every part of us, to give to him the very best of who we are? Maybe for some of us, it looks like the idea of searching out and studying and finding for ourselves, is this really true? Did God really come in this way? And for some of us, maybe it means recognizing and acknowledging his right to rule and to guide and to direct in our lives. And for some of us, maybe this is a challenge. Maybe we want to respond differently. And again, none of you are like Herod. You're certainly not that kind of people. But maybe the idea of someone coming as king to rule and to guide and direct our lives seems threatening. Maybe we feel afraid to give up control. Maybe we recognize that if we give our lives to Jesus, it will mean particular parts of our life have to change. And that just seems hard. Perhaps for some of us today, there's a sense of shame because we know the things in our life that are wrong and we're not sure that God would be willing to receive us because we don't yet understand the depths and the breadth of God's love for us. And so how do you want to receive him? What do you want to do? Again, if you have questions about this, on January 9th, we're going to have a particular special kind of service that's a conversation about why faith matters. It's a space for us just to explain a bit more about the impact that Jesus has made on our lives and how we can receive him and come to know him. Or if you'd like to have a conversation with any of us, certainly feel free to reach out because we'd love to hear more about your story and the journey that God has you on and what we have found Jesus to be significant in our own lives, the ways that he's met with us. Because again, today, Christmas is all about giving and receiving. God has given himself fully to us. Will we choose to receive him?
Follow the star to a place unexpected. Would you believe? After all we've projected, a child in a manger, lowly and small, the weakest of all, unlikeliest hero, wrapped in his mother's shawl, just a child. Is this who we've waited for? How many kings stepped down from their thrones? How many lords have abandoned their homes? How many greats have become the least for me? How many gods have poured out their hearts to romance a world that is torn all apart? How many fathers gave up their sons for me? Ringing out for the newborn Savior. All that we have, whether costly or meek, because we believe. Gold for his honor, and frankincense for his pleasure, and myrrh for the cross he'll suffer. Do you believe? Is this who we've waited for? 'Cause how many kings step down from their thrones? How many lords have abandoned their homes? How many greats have become the least for me? And how many gods have poured out their hearts to romance a world that is torn all apart? How many fathers gave up their sons for me? Only one did that for me. All for me, all for you, all for me, all for you. How many kings step down from their thrones? How many lords have abandoned their homes? How many greats have become the least? How many gods have poured out their hearts to romance a world that is torn all apart? How many fathers gave up their sons for me? Only one did that for me. All for me, all for you.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare him room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the earth, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs employ, while fields and floods, rocks, hills, and plains repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat, repeat the sounding joy. No more the sins and
I hope that you've enjoyed the service. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. And I hope and pray that you now just have a little bit more appreciation for what that night 2,000 years ago meant. Please remember that Boxing Day, the 26th, our service is at the normal time, 9:15. The same goes for January 2nd. And on January 9th, please consider who you can share the service with. We are looking forward to sharing a conversation about why faith matters. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Blessings.